In the previous videos, I introduced R Markdown, what the general structure and logic of an R Markdown file is, how to use it, and then the video immediately before this one, I showed you how to incorporate a table that we produced in previous weeks into an R Markdown report. First, we did it by incorporating the whole analysis into the R Markdown code chunk here. Then we changed strategy a little bit and only included a reference to the actual R script that produces the table in the background, and then featuring here the name of the object within the code chunk, which produces the same result, but in my view, it's a little bit of a cleaner and more organized approach, especially as your Markdown report keeps growing and becoming more complex. So in this video now, we're going to also add a figure to it and just following the same approach that we've introduced in the previous video. For that, we're going to again add another code chunk, and we should give it a name. How about figure, since we're going to go and include a figure here. And again, we don't want R to display in our report the actual lines of code. We just want it to report the actual visual that we're producing. Okay, I have the code that produces the actual figure saved here. If you remember, we did a ridge plot comparing the distribution of how much students like their courses across different courses. And go back to previous weeks to check out how we cleaned the data here and produced the actual graphic. That's not the point of this video here. Here, we want to show how to incorporate that visual into the actual Markdown report. So we're going to go ahead and load all those packages and then produce the ridge plot. Let's see what that looks like. This was the graphic. Quite a nice one. So how do we get that into R? We're going to go back to our R Markdown script, and we're going to again use the source function to call on the existing R Markdown script that produces that figure. So we got to again tell R where that one is. It's actually in the same folder that we used for the table, so we can just copy paste that over. And then we have to include the name. So in this case, it is week 9 R Markdown figure. Include the name of the graphic here, .r. Don't forget the ending. And then we are telling Markdown here to feature the actual output, which is a figure called ridge. Right? It's listed also here in the environment. We can add some text here. Let's say we're going to give this a different header. Let's call this figure. Write some text. This is my first report including a table and a figure. All right, let's save that. And now, as always, the last step is knitting it to see what it looks like. All right. So we see here, again, not a pretty report just yet, but we did successfully include not only the table, but now down here is also the figure that we wanted to include in this HTML report. Something that pops up here are warning message, which can be quite annoying. We can turn those off actually by going back to the R Markdown script. All right, let's go to our R Markdown file and let's add some options here in each code chunk. First one is warning false and then message false. And this should take care of all the messages and warning signs that you've seen in the actual report. Let's save that and knit the whole file again, see what it looks like. It's going to take a second. All right, here we are. Let's open it in the browser. It looks a little nicer, and we see the messages and the signs are gone. And we do have a fairly clean report now with a table and a figure, and each piece of analysis is located in a specific script, in a dedicated script, and we reference each script here in a separate code chunk. Note that each code chunk must have a different name. So in this case, table and figure that you assign, because if they have the same name, you will get an error message. I'll cover additional code chunks option here that you can use to format what your outputs actually look like in the report. And in another future video, I will show you how to actually add and format text.